Thinking versus doing. Why did I put this slide up? You're thinking, what the hell has Paul put a picture up of Saturn and Mars on the screen for? What the hell is this guy on? Over the last few months, I've done a lot of work on the human types, on the human kind of character traits, right? As you and I go on our journeys, you pass through 3 phases. The first one is to get to the point of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is where you have 100% belief in yourself, right? 100%. You're almost bulletproof from what anybody says, parents included, family included, peers included, members of a coaching program included. We're staring back at you when you talk about Trump and Biden. You get to the point of complete self-acceptance. And if you can't get self-acceptance, it's very difficult to get self-development, which is the next phase. Self-development is often the phase that people go to without self-acceptance. So this is why my little dig yesterday about all of the podcasts and all of the books, that's self-development, and I love it. I absolutely think it's amazing. But what you often find is that people can read all the books in the world, and they can listen to all the podcasts, and they can do all of the kind of the Tony Robbins stuff or the Zig Ziglar stuff. And the reason it doesn't work for them is because they haven't gone through self-acceptance, which is figuring out their demons, accepting who they are for who they are without any approval needed from anybody. I created a t-shirt called Approval Not Needed for a reason. It really isn't. And until you get to the point where you believe that approval is not needed, personal development actually is made more difficult because you're always going 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You always read the book and you think, I've cracked it, I've got it, and I understand this. Somebody comes along and says something about you, and then before you know it, you've gone 2 steps back. I won't ask you to raise your hand, but I'm sure that people can associate with that you kind of think that you're making progress with your journey, with your life, with your confidence, with your belief in yourself. Something happens, a challenge, somebody says something, next thing you know, you're back to square one, if not further behind. And that's really because you're seeking approval from everyone and anyone around you. And if you're seeking approval constantly, you're always worried about what somebody's thinking, and therefore you actually aren't able to develop. So if you get to the point of self-acceptance, self-development becomes easier, and it becomes easier to take the things that you learn in the books and you hear on the podcasts and you see at the seminars or hear at the seminars. And then once you've really got your self-development game in play, you're moving now, you're thriving, you're striving, you're moving, you're going faster. Things are happening, you're making big decisions, you're good, you're confident, you're dodging bullets. People are criticizing, but you're not bothered, you're not affected by it. Stuff in the business doesn't go perfectly well, but you're fine. You get back up, you roll with the punches, off you go again. It doesn't set you back. Striving, or what comes next, is called thriving, and that's where it's self-realization. And the whole point of self-realization is, how far could Paul go? How big could Paul get, right? What could Paul achieve? Growth and expansion. How much impact could Paul have? How much value is it possible that Paul could have? And self-realization, these types of things are actually under the banner of self-realization, where you're learning more about yourself now at a real deeper level. So the first one was accept yourself. The second one was, okay, I've got acceptance, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I'm going to go and build a business, I'm going to go and raise a family, I'm going to go out there in the community, I'm going to do the best thing that I can with the skills that I've got. Good. Now let's see if I can get a deeper understanding of all of that to really blow this thing up. And that's self-realization. So self-realization, this is just one of the things that I've learned, and I'll talk to you about a few more. I have a personality type. When I push people who I respect on why I'm, if you like, quote unquote, successful, whatever definition that might be, I have a very strategic brain, and I can see things that others can't. And it got alluded to yesterday with Jason and Shayna. And if you talk to people, one of the things that I have an ability to do is see something that others can't. I can see a solution to a problem that they just see it at this point, and I can see it from this point, whether it's in the office, whether it's in life, whether it's in whatever. I genuinely have that, and I know I have that. And I've trained it and developed it over the last few years. So I spend most of my time, right, figuratively, on Saturn, if you like. Most of my day, I'm very unemotional. I'm very respond rather than react. And if you like, my gaze is very open. So I see things constantly. And I don't necessarily react to a situation because I can see that it was going to happen anyway. That's where I spend about 90% of my time. But what I also have is an ability to go to Mars. Now Mars, so if you think about Saturn, Saturn kind of orbits the atmosphere, if you like, and it's just hanging around, looking back at the galaxy, kind of figuratively, looking at all of the different planets that go before it, right? And that is essentially what I do as a business owner. I kind of look at everything that's happening, I see things around me, and I don't react to them, and I just kind of look and look and look. I pick my time, and when I need to, I'll go to Mars. So Mars's definition, if you want to understand it, Mars gets interesting because that's the place where it's hot, it's bubbly, and it's fiery. This gets really interesting when you understand how this applies to people. So on Mars is where people are all action. It's hot, it's bubbly, it's fiery. Where do you think most people are living their life? Mars. Most people are living their life on Mars. So there's no strategic gaze, there's no big picture, there's no let me get up and orbit the galaxy, if you like, to see actually the state of the real play or situation here. So while probably 80–90% of the time, I'm kind of floating around the orbit, looking, not reacting, letting things go, having a laugh, kind of giggling, not taking any of it too seriously, thinking with a pen in my hand. When the time comes, I move from Saturn to Mars. And I'll go and I'll dig and I'll fight and I'll rant and I'll scream and I'll rave and I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll fight the fight. I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody. I'll tackle anybody in the office. I'll tackle any member. I'll tackle anybody in my family. I'll do whatever I need to do to solve the problem. But then I come back out. And I can do it very quickly. Most people either do one or the other. So some of you in this room right now spending too much time on Saturn. You're thinking too much. Orbiting the atmosphere, and you're kind of waiting your time. And when I'm ready and when all of these stars line up and when these ducks are perfect, then I'll do this thing. That's when you're on Saturn. And some of you are spending far too much time on Mars. Hot and bubbly, fiery, arguing with people, constantly irate, constantly stressed, fighting with people at home, fighting with people in the office, fighting with people on social media, needing to be right, having an opinion on politics or whatever it is. That's what's causing all of this irateness. You do not make good decisions on Mars, categorically. What the point is, and the real skill is to understand when, for example, Jake has to move between the two. Or when Jason gets up on a daily basis and says, where am I best today? Am I best on Saturn today? Is this situation calling for me to be a bit more strategic, a bit more of an expansive view? Or is this situation calling for me to go in and have the fight that I need to have and then get the hell out? If I've spent too much time on Mars, I'm probably in heat. I'm probably stressed. I'm probably tired. I'm probably angst. And if I've spent too much time on Saturn, well, I'm probably a bit lethargic, and I'm probably not seeing much things happening. The skill, the ultimate skill, and we spoke about it yesterday with planning. Planning is not the master. Planning is, if you like, is the slave. The business is not the master. The business is the slave. The outcome is not the master. The outcome is the slave. And I think there's a thing that's not understood as well as it might need to be, that these things aren't what we're chasing. These are the slaves that allow us to live the life that we kind of want, the things that we want to do. So when you're thinking about your planning, somebody could come up to me and go, in 6 months, but Paul, you told me not to plan. So I'm not planning anymore. I'm not going to do any of your planning exercises. I said, no, I didn't say that. What I said, if you're planning too much, we've got to stop planning and we've got to start taking some action. And then somebody goes, Paul, but I'm taking loads of action. I said, no, I didn't say take loads of action. I said, when the time is right, take action. But every now and again, we've got to stop, take stock of ourselves, and create a plan. So the skill in all of this is the discernment, the judgment to decide consciously what you need to do in any given period of time. In any given moment, Joanne needs to behave differently than possibly she did last week. I'm trying to get to the point in my life where I'm a little bit more in control of which Paul and what type needs or is needed for which situation. If I need to think bigger, where do I need to go to think bigger? If I need to stop thinking big because I'm getting a bit too high and I might fall over, well, then I need to come back down and I need to get some stuff done. If I've lost sight of my plan, I need to go back to the plan. If I need to take more action, I need to take more action. If I need to have more fun, I need to have more fun. If I need to be a little bit more serious, I need to be a bit more serious. There isn't anything absolute in this life, is what I'm trying to say. It's almost like a continuum, and somebody explained it to me. The color green. How many different types of color green are there? Dark green, light green, mint green, green tea. Like, there's just millions of different versions of green. And everything's on a continuum. And you can learn to play whatever you're thinking about, whether it's planning. You can learn to do a lot of planning if you need to, a little bit of planning. You can learn to take a lot of action if you need to, a little bit of less action if you need to. The skill is that you're in control of the decision, the judgment that you're making over what is the best situation or the best use of your time on that day, given the situation that you're in. That's the skill. That's self-actualization. When you get into the real roots of who you are, what you're about, the decisions that you're making, why you're making them, when you're making them. But you've got to get past self-acceptance through self-growth or personal development into actualization. And as you start thinking about this type of thing, it's almost, and again, somebody said you've got to condition yourself to go bit more Saturn today, Paul, bit more Mars today, bit less Mars today, Paul. You're a bit too Mars yesterday. Just relax a little bit. Or actually, a little bit less thinking right now, because you're kind of hiding behind this thinking thing that you're good at. You need to get in, you need to dig in. Getting control and being autonomous with that type of thinking in every situation in your life is the next phase for all of us. And that's what that represents.
Thanks for watching this video. And if you found it helpful, and if you now find yourself thinking, I wonder what else this person can help me with, head over to paulgough.com/books, where you can find my best-selling books, which will show you how to add more profit to your practice. Or send an email to paul@paulgough.com to ask about how we can help you accelerate the growth and profitability of your clinic. And by the way, if you know anybody who would find this helpful, please share this video out. Thanks so much.